Hello, my name is Faris Mohammad Royan and we are from Group 7 of Literary Reading 207 class. Before going into the presentation, please let me introduce the member of our group. It is me, Faris Mohammad Royan, and then Yunita Aprilia, and then Fadhil Abdi Traseptian, and then Uli Rohali. We will presenting our reading report. The title of the novel that we read is The Grass is Singing by Doris Lessing. And the content of our report would be the summary, and then the issue, and then the discussion of the issue, and then the conclusion. First, I will read you the summary of the novel. The setting of The Grass is Singing is in southern Rhodesia or Zimbabwe during 1940s. The novel starts with a short news article entitled Murder Mystery, which describes about the murder of Mary Turner, the wife of Richard Dick Turner, a poor farmer. A houseboy has confessed to the murder. Tony Mertson found Mary's body on the veranda. Sergeant Denham, who has received a note from Charlie Slater, Turner's neighbor and Tom's boss, arrives to the crime scene. Tom has the theory about Mary's murder, but he keeps silent and wonders if he is complicit a monstrous justice by staying silent. The next day, it is decided by the trial that Moses will be hanged because he murdered Mary when he was drunk and wanted to steal her valuables. On the next chapter, Mary's character being introduced. It explained that Mary's father is an alcoholic and likes to spend family's money on liquor until often get into heated arguments with her mother. Her older brother and sister died for dysentery when she was a kid. When she was 16 years old, she decided to leave home. Then, between 20 and 25 years old, Mary's parents died. She lived in a club for young women and worked as a personal secretary at an office. Although Mary's friends got married and had children, she remained single, happy, and carefree. She was denial about aging and felt no desire to get married. Until one day, she overheard some of her married friends talking about the fact that she wasn't married behind her back. After knowing about that, Mary briefly became engaged to a widower, but called it off when she tried to have intercourse with her. Soon after that, Mary meets Dick, who is a poor farmer, during his brief visit to town. Dick refused to get married due to his poverty, but he worked until exhausted over the next few months just for marrying Mary. Mary agrees because she can't hear more gossip about her. Then they get married. Mary and Dick have tea and engage in polite but awkward conversation. They even have sexual intercourse, but Mary feels nothing during it. Next day, Dick introduces Mary to his longtime black servant, Samson. While Dick feels affection for Samson, Mary feels affronted by Samson's casual manner. She began to teach herself kitchen kafir, which is the simplified version of the native Shona language that white settlers used to derogate black people, and it was extremely offensive. And then the summary will be read by Miss Yunita. Miss Yunita, please, the time is yours.
Mary accused Samson for stealing raisins that she was saving to make pudding and insists Dick will protest to taking money out from Samson's wages. Samson quits, Dick upsets. They hire another servant, but before long they quit as well because Mary often forced them to overwork. Mary and Dick's relationship didn't get better after Dick jokingly calling Mary boss and failing on his experiment, that is, keeping different animals on farm, when he still has a debt to a man who addresses him as Jonah, given name to Dick because of his misfortune. Dick decided to open Kafir store on the farm and asked Mary to run the store. At first, Mary refused heartily, but she eventually agreed. Mary finds that the native women who sit outside the store with children are disgusting and had her time working there. She hoped that she can run away and return to her life in the town. One day, she noticed that her old office has placed an advertisement for a shorthand typist. She decided to leave the next day with Charlie, who will drive her to the train station. In the town, Mary got rejected by the girls' club where she used to live because they don't take married women, and by the office because the position has been filled. Mary returns to the hotel room and she realizes that she doesn't have enough money to pay the bill. Fortunately, Dick comes and begs her to come back home, then she agrees. Mary and Dick slip back into their previous routine, but Dick soon becomes ill with a fever. The doctor that Charlie broke rudely instructs Mary that they must wire the house for mosquitoes and go on a 3-month holiday to get better. Because of Dick's help, Mary begins supervising the farm workers. She brings shampoo with her during supervising and doesn't hesitate to whip anyone who against her, including Moses, who insists to drink water. She also withholds wages from the workers who come late, causing some of them quit the job on the spot. At home, Mary urges Dick to focus on growing tobacco, like Charlie's advice long time ago, so they will be able to make enough money. After considering the idea, Dick agreeing to start building tobacco barns. However, the tobacco dies because of drought in January. Dick can cover the expenses and is forced to take out a loan in order to avoid declaring bankruptcy. Mary's health deteriorates. She sinks further into misery as same as Dick, who starts smoking. After another house servant leaves, Dick is forced to move Moses from the farm to the house because no one wants to work for Mary. Mary starts to grow fascination to Moses, watching him as he completes his work and even one day staring at him while he washes himself outside. Mary gets irritated because Moses just stops what he's doing and stares back at her until she leaves him alone. She even forces Moses to do unnecessary tasks and asks Dick to fire Moses, but Dick angrily refuses that idea. Months pass. Mary becomes increasingly depressed. When Moses tells her that he wants to quit, she begs and crying over him. Moses takes a pity and care to her, so he doesn't mention leaving again. A new dynamic grows between Mary and Moses. Moses is more informal and authoritative with Mary, and Mary feels completely under his power. While Dick becomes ill with malaria, Mary starts having vivid nightmares. She imagines that when Dick has died, Moses and his father are making sexual advances on her until she wakes up with a scream. One time, Moses asks why she is afraid of him, but Mary replies that she isn't afraid with hysterical voice. Meanwhile, Turner's neighbors have started spreading cruel gossip about them. One day, Charlie comes over and urges Dick to sell his farm. When he stays for dinner, he witnesses Moses and Mary's flirtatious relationship. Charlie demands Dick and his wife to leave while he will take over the farm with his assistant Tony. While living on Turner's farm, Tony comes to believe that Mary has gone insane and needs to be treated by a psychologist. One day, he even chats Moses helping Mary to get dressed and think about the possibility that they are having an affair. He decided to tell Dick about it and fire Moses, but Moses leaves and doesn't return that evening. Tonight, before leaving the farm, Mary wakes up suddenly with a state of paranoid delusion. She walks around the house, looks for Moses, believes that he will finish her that night.
Summary of the novel. Mary is supposed to packing things for tomorrow, but accidentally falls asleep and wake up in the late afternoon. She suddenly feels compelled to go to the Turner store and finds Moses here. She runs away screaming, then bumps into Tony, who gently tells her that he has gave an advice to Dick to bring her to doctor. That night, Mary doesn't attend the dinner with Dick and Tony. In the bed, Dick tells her that she is ill, and Mary replies that she has always been ill in her heart. After Dick is asleep, Mary gets up and walks around the house, believes that Moses is there. She goes out to the veranda and she sees Moses in the distance. Moses comes toward her, puts hand over her mouth, and stabs her to death. Moses considers claiming his innocence, but in the end he turns himself in with waits outside the house until morning. Issue we have found in the novel. The issue that we have found in the novel is colonialism. It appeared in the novel that Mary Turner is the colonizer character. Mary Turner is a white woman who lives surrounded by natives who are black people. She often acts rude toward the native and her worker. Besides brought up colonialism issue as the main issue, the novel also mentioned about poverty issue. We found that poverty issue could become the reason behind people making crimes, the same thing that happened to Mary. Because Turner's family is poor and they couldn't make their financial be better, Mary's sanity became more chaotic. Discussion of the issue. We will discuss about the issue in the grass is singing. We have mentioned that we found colonialism as the main issue and poverty as the side issue on the previous page. We will focus on the colonialism issue. We found out that Mary is the colonizer character who become the center of colonialism issue in the novel. Looking at her behavior, Mary often being rude and unkind to the native worker, especially Moses, who are the black people. She always suspicious to them, as if they would do something bad to her, even though Moses and the native have been nice to her. Mary always shouts at the worker to get them back to work if they stop working for a minute. Meanwhile, Dick let them stop working for 5 minutes each hour. Mary's treatment of the worker grew increasingly outrageous. She got the title as a bad employee, so that many of the workers quit their job. Workers in their homes also ran away, until Dick broke Moses to be a worker in their house, but Mary's rude behavior didn't stop, even it got worse.
Another act of colonialism that Mary did are Mary whipped Moses on his face until his face was bleeding. Mary was afraid Moses will be reported to the police at the time because actually white peasants should not physically abuse their workers. Along with her fear, she felt satisfied and powerful. Mary always insulted Moses and forced him to do endless series of pointless tasks. At the same time, Mary is also fascinated by Moses, a feeling that she will not allow herself of knowledge. Toward the end of the story, Mary has been forcing Moses to help her with intimate tasks, such as helping her getting dressed, leading Tony, as Charlie's assistant, to believe that Mary and Moses are having an affair. While Moses' feelings toward Mary are not stated explicitly, his hatred towards her is obvious by his resentful and defiant attitude. At the same time, Moses can't escape the intimacy of the master-servant relationship that unavoidably binds him to Mary. Eventually, the event of both this intimacy and hatred reaches an explosive climax in which Moses kills Mary. The last is conclusion. The conclusion of the Grass is Singing reading report is the act of colonialism that Mary Turner did prove to bring Mary to her end of life. The view of Mary Turner that white people are better than black people made her do a cruel and inhuman act to black people, especially the workers and the house servants. This act of cruelty and inhumanity led to hatred feeling from black people to Mary, so they were eventually stopped working on Dick and Mary's farm. In the case of Moses, the hatred is appeared as an explosive climax of the story which bring Mary to the end of her life. He killed Mary. That's all our presentation. Thank you for your attention. Bye.